Thanks for choosing Equinoxe Television. You're on to the best of television channel across the African continent. We live from Douala, Cameroon's economic capital city, Equinoxe Central News Desk. We begin with one of our top stories, human interest, to say that a family is now mourning in the Peka neighborhood of the city of Douala. 2 of their family members have died and several others, 6 in number, severely wounded. According to local sources, the victims of the collapse of an embankment wall were students of government bilingual technical school Nilong in Dokpati. They were carrying out an academic exercise when the unfortunate incident happened, as Mala Glory tells us in the following report.
The future of this young boy, Michel Fowa, has been shattered. The collapse of an embankment in Mayong City, the Peka neighborhood, took away the life of the Form 3 students of Bilingual Technical School Nilong A in Dokbati. The incident occurred when the teenager and his classmates were carrying out a class exercise, handwork in the building. My son told me he's going to a construction site at Peka 21. My wife was later informed that the boy is dead. When I got here, I only saw his body wrapped and placed out there. And I saw an embankment wall which has been existing for a long time, and it was dug from the foundation, which is why it collapsed on the children. Hours later, 1 other student gave up the ghost, while 2 others are in a critical condition. According to the parents of the deceased, the embankment was poorly constructed. The embankment was poorly constructed. This is because the foundation was too deep and was constructed very close to another embankment wall. That was why the wall and the gate collapsed. The incident, which occurred during a period when students are expected to be on break, has raised a lot of eyebrows.
4
days ago, I was asking the boy why such exercise on holidays. Does it mean you don't have break in your school? I hope your teachers are not using you for their own interests, because I still give you transport fare. While the injured persons have been taken to the hospital, investigations are ongoing.
Inhabitants of Mok Arung village in Wabane subdivision, Lebialem division of the southwest region, true and meaningful peace cannot be attained while they are still suffering and dished fake promises by public stakeholders, the government in Cameroon. The people say that they were promised electricity supply latest December 2020. It's been 1 year and the area still suffers from the lack or the absence of electricity. They are questioning and wondering how they will be able to watch matches of the AFCON 2021 when electricity is not available in Mok Arung and several other parts of Wabane. They say that these and several other developmental challenges are the reasons why true peace and normalcy is still far-fetched in the Anglophone regions despite the holding of the major national dialogue. Glory Mala tells us more in the following report.
The inhabitants of Atsola village in Wabane subdivision of the southwest region are plunged in darkness for more than a year. Electric poles planted at different positions in the community by government authorities promising the people power supply before the end of 2021 has been falling off, and the authorities are indifferent to these, says the people.
These electric poles were brought and planted here last year during the month of November. December closed, and we were promised that before Christmas we'll have power supply in this local community. But along the line, the project was abandoned. They had to move to other villages and extended power supply to other neighboring villages. We are hoping that they will come back and continue with the.
They are forced to retire home when it's dark, even without selling their goods, while others won't be able to watch the African Nations Cup on their screen.
Oh yeah.
I am forced to go home before 7 p.m. even without selling anything.
Voila. Thank you.
We won't be able to watch the African Nations Cup like others because of the lack of electricity. The absence of power supply and road network in Wabane has made the people say they have been abandoned by the authorities. The locals therefore call on government not to turn her back on them.
BLM is a neighboring division to Kupe Manengoba, all in the English-speaking southwest region of Cameroon, and the worries of the people of Bangem, chief town of the Kupe Manengoba division, is the same. The people have told peace crusaders recently that true peace will not be possible when they are still being rocked by bad roads and other underdevelopmental challenges in Osenaze.
A conclave of development and peace crusaders, traditional leaders and elites of Bangem in the Kupe Manengoba division, southwest region, which aims at mapping out ways to promote peace, human rights and development. Some participants here say the major national dialogue resolutions are not felt in Bangem.
There are still problems in many areas. You can still hear guns, people are dying, schools are not going on. I think people still have to understand the basis of peace. People still have to understand, the essence of being together.
In the light of development, they say the process Paul Biya's decentralization policy is working the opposite way.
The contracts they come from Yaoundé. It is Yaoundé who determines the contractor. All the contractor who comes still they have the powers. The population does not even feel as to evaluate what the contractor is doing. He can do anything and go away, but the contract has been given and the money has been squandered.
Even when contractors are sent from Yaoundé, the projects are abandoned uncompleted.
The road which was given to be constructed from Melong to Bangem has been ended halfway. Other roads that have been given, like Babibok and other areas, which were given 2019 and the rest of it, till now they have not recovered. And yet we're talking about the government has plans to give projects again for 2022.
Another elite seems to know more about such contractors.
We have realized that contractors use their relatives who are on holidays to execute projects which are given to them. And when they get finished, the children go back to school, the project abandoned. If the people were involved, the young men were involved, they will realize the project because it is their own.
These elites of Bangem think the concerned needs to take their destiny into their hands.
Government to give effective powers to the mayor.
The people must be involved in the development of their municipality. At least the chiefs, the elite, the young men should be made available in every execution.
If they're given project and other things to bring that peace, I think they should relate with the people in the grassroots. I think that's why they're talking about decentralization.
No matter the bitter complaints, the Yaoundé regime believes the decentralization policy it runs is best and most effective in enhancing development of the country. Members of the 35 emergence vision will be realized.
The southwest, just like the northwest region of Cameroon, where the armed conflict has been ongoing for 5 years, the health situation of the people has been a major concern for locals and also international non-governmental organizations, and one of such has been Doctors Without Borders, which has been operating in the two English-speaking regions with enormous challenges. They were recently expelled from the northwest region and operating in the southwest region. Their presence there now is being threatened following a release from the Ministry of Defense in Cameroon accusing the international non-governmental organization Doctors Without Borders of clandestinely collaborating with armed separatist fighters. Charles Habane Ekome tells us more.
After the International Humanitarian Medical Organization, Doctors Without Borders, was banned from operating in the northwest region of Cameroon, it comes under the repressive arm of the Ministry of Defense in the southwest region. A press statement of the Ministry of Defense attributes criminal allegations to the organization. The statement signed by the military spokesperson, Colonel Cyril Atonfak, condemned Doctors Without Borders for covering up clandestinely armed fighters out of battle zones. It substantiates this information with the case of 2 armed fighters wounded by gendarme officers in Tinto in the Upper Bayang subdivision, Manyu Division, southwest region of Cameroon. According to the Ministry of Defense, one of them died, and Doctors Without Borders decided to take the survivor to Nguti in the Kupe-Maninguba division for treatment without informing military authorities. This information is dismissed by Doctors Without Borders as false. In a release, the organization states that it contacted the local military authorities beforehand, informed them about the transfer of a wounded patient to Mutengene, and shared his age and gender as requested. The ambulance was, however, intercepted by security forces at the Nguti checkpoint. They forced the ambulance to return to Mamfe, where the patient had to be treated and stabilized. Doctors Without Borders reminds Cameroonian authorities and the public at large that it treats patients across the world based on medical need, regardless of their background and affiliations. The impartial humanitarian work is protected by the Geneva Convention. The organization wants that hindering its work and allegations of complicity with any actor in conflict expose patients and humanitarian workers to extreme risk that could be fatal.
Still in health, the capacity or the personnel capacity of the Douala International Airport has been reinforced by Cameroon's Public Health Minister, Dr. Manahuda Malashi. Dr. Manahuda Malashi paid an unannounced visit to the airport to see just how people coming into Cameroon within the context of the AFCON are being taken care of health-wise. Our health lady, Immaculate Fogel, has the rest of the story.
After several distress calls made by passengers getting in and out of the Douala International Airport on social media denouncing the manipulation of COVID-19 test results by health workers at the Douala International Airport for personal gains, Minister Manauda Malachi of Public Health decides to pay an unannounced visit to the Douala International Airport for a reality check. We spend 8 to 9 hours in the plane. We later get here and have it. It's really tiring. We expect that the right results are given and it should be done within the shortest time possible. Worried about the long queue of passengers trying to get tested, the minister reinforces the health desk with more personnel and a larger space.
It's going very fast. You arriving in the airport, you don't have a lot of time to spend. So you just move out quickly. So it's really good. It's really good. The system they have put in place right here. Yeah, we don't pay the test. The test is free. Everything.
These positions are being put in place to avoid any sort of forgery with regards to the COVID-19 test results. We just added some health personnel to the ones already existing so work can go on smoothly. In the days ahead, a reanimation room will be functional at the airport so it can handle cases before they are taken to the hospital. The African Cup of Nations, expected to kick off on the 9th of January 2022, will lead to an influx of persons into the country, thereby necessitating the need for sanitary measures to be reinforced in order to decrease the risk of COVID-19 contaminations.
And we take on this news flash to say that following the sentencing of some CRM party militants on Monday, the 27th of December 2021 by the military tribunal in Yaoundé, Cameroon, the Popular Action Party PAP has once again taken cognizance of the lack of any political will by the regime to engage in any meaningful dialogue with political opponents. Imprisoning politicians is a resounding signal that the ruling class footballers in Cameroon lacks the stamina to measure up with any contradictions rather than collaborating with the opposition for a more vibrant Cameroon. The imprisonment of Professor Alain Fogue, Olivier Bibou, Nesak, Mispa Awasum, alongside other CRM party officials, reaffirms the regime's hidden agenda, that of igniting Cameroonians to violence. It should be recalled that the other prisoners of conscience, like those of Stand Up for Cameroon and victims of the ongoing Anglophone war, are all glaring examples. To the Popular Action Party, PAP, once again call on all Cameroonians at home and abroad, political parties, civil society, as well as partners of Cameroon to all rise in one voice and call Yaoundé to order. This is part of a release of the national president, Jean Denis, PAP national president, vis-a-vis the detention of some party officials. We shall be talking about this in the second segment of this newscast. It's time for us to talk sports. AFCON. On the road to AFCON, a Ugandan referee has backed out of the Africa Cup of Nations because he says the religion or his religion does not support the COVID-19 vaccination. The referee has the assistant referee of Ugandan origin has been immediately replaced by another from Tanzania. Some of the site attractions and interesting stories ahead of the Africa Cup of Nations have been compiled by Simat Njikan Gabriel.
Uganda's Dick Okello, who was chosen by the Confederation of African Football (CAF) as one of the assistant referees during the Africa Cup of Nations, has backed out of the tournament. Dick Okello says his religion doesn't permit the COVID-19 vaccination imposed by CAF, with the CAF has called Frank John Kumba of Tanzania to replace him. Good news for the Atlas Lions. Abdel Samad Ezazui decides to play for Morocco. The 19-year-old Barcelona young star, after being called up by coach Vaid Alizorik, was still contemplating whether to join or not, owing that he had pressure from the Spanish Football Federation asking him to ditch the Atlas Lions. The young star will thus play for Morocco during the Nations Cup in Cameroon. Mauritania might not be favourite to clinch the trophy of the AFCON in Cameroon, but Mauritania might be having the youngest player during the competition, as Didier Gomez da Rosa called up 16-year-old prodigy Beat Lequiri to be part of their AFCON squad. Days to the kickoff of the AFCON, Guinea-Bissau's players are unhappy as they are yet to receive any dime from the 2021 AFCON qualification bonus. The Guinean government had promised the players who played in 2019 AFCON a piece of land each. There is no hint of when they are getting their lands. Senegal will win the 2021 AFCON tournament in Cameroon next month. This revelation was made by a traditional doctor called Kahone. Kahone says he saw it in his dream as the whole country was celebrating the title. The fans of Comoros are demanding an apology from the AFCON local organizing committee for misrepresenting their nationality by including a South African fan, Botam Sla, on their team bus and omitting the white band on their national flag.
Coming up is Talking Point. On Talking Points today, we're receiving a young politician. We're receiving Numbose Innocent. He is a communicator of the Popular Action Party, the PAP. Innocent, thanks for accepting our invitation.
Good evening to you, Fomi Sanda. Good evening to you, dear televiewers. Good evening to His Excellency Jean Denis Tabe.
We've just had released the reaction from the national president of the PAP party. I want to take on this one of the second to the last sentence of his reaction. He says imprisoning political opponents and innocent civilians for expressing or wanting to express their views is a clear sign of defeat and outright dictatorship on the part of Mr. Pobia and his government. What do we understand by that? At a time when the individuals sentenced yesterday, the context within which context the president was reacting have been labeled charges that are not openly showing that they are being held because of their political belongings, but they are accused of things quite different.
Mr. For me, the Yaounde's regime is gradually leading this nation through shortcut to chaos. They are gradually moving Cameroon towards an uprising orchestrated not by opposition nor the masses, but by the regime itself, through their biased nature of implementing the laws of our land. How will you tell Cameroonians that some months back, the CPDM militant, when they burned down a state building, blocked national roads, and yet they are walking away freely, and politicians of political parties who only wanted to demonstrate peacefully to ask for reforms are being labeled jail sentences? Mr. Fomi, we should not live in a nation like that. And this is a time when Cameroonians need to arise and say enough is enough, because the judiciary system is now being used to settle political scores to intimidate Cameroonians, of which the law is meant to protect the people.
I want to get you clear when you say they are being biased. When you say they are being biased, it's actually the law, and the people are being charged within the context of the law, according to the arguments of the ruling party, and the people concerned are labeled charges like terrorism, acts of terrorism, rebellion, and all that, which are punishable by the law.
Mr. Fomi, to the best of my knowledge, Professor Alain Foguet and others have not burned down state building. Burning down the state building is an act of terrorism. These people only wanted to demonstrate peacefully. For the past 40 years, Cameroonians have been asking for a change in governance, and they have not had a change in governance. And that is why some politician thinks that it is only a change in government that can solve the problem Cameroon is facing today. So if these people are accused of terrorism, it is not true. It is far from the truth, because we have not seen any act of terrorism carried out by these people. We have instead seen the contrary, where they are being prevented by the regime in place to demonstrate peacefully, which is a fundamental right of a Cameroonian citizen to air out their grievances through peaceful demonstration.
Have you people been having these same challenges of the PAP political party?
PAP, like other political party, is one of the most persecuted political party in Cameroon. Remember, Justice Ayapo was being arrested on Saturday, which is against the law, and held under captivity in prison for 8 months without charges, which is against the law. Due to that, most of our previous executive, they fled, and they are now refugees in other countries, running away for their safety. This is not how a leadership should lead a nation. Everything rise and fall on leadership, and that is why Cameroonians, who have been very silent in response to all this injustice, must now stand up for their country before things get worse.
You're using the same words used by our national president, asking Cameroonians, lovers and partners of Cameroon, to stand up. Stand up how? By doing what? When?
Cameroon is in this mess today because the citizens have failed to occupy their citizenship office. How do they occupy their citizenship office? They have to challenge their leaders to tax so that they should be accountable. But Cameroonians on their part have failed on their duty to challenge their leaders to tax so that they should be accountable. And that is why they are leading us the way they are leading. So every Cameroonian must stand I will take the quote of one famous writer, Martin Nemola. He said, when they came for the communists, I did not speak because I was not a communist. When they came for the socialists, I did not speak because I was not a socialist. When they came for the trade unionists, I did not speak because I was not a trade unionist. When they came for the Jews, I did not speak because I was not a Jew. And when they came for me, there was no one left to speak. Cameroonians must get back to the days of old, where they used to live as one, where the pain of one used to be the pain of all. This is injustice done to Cameroonians. We are not seeing it as a political party issue. We are seeing it as injustice done to Cameroonians. Though we are from an opposition political party, that's why we think that the people must be considered first. The law is there for the goods of the people and not to intimidate the people for selfish reasons.
Within the opposition, there are always accusations of a lack of collaboration. We're actually seeing the PAP standing out to be different, really preoccupied with what happens to members, supporters and sympathizers of other parties of the opposition, reacting swiftly and immediately amongst one of the very few persons who have reacted immediately after the incident of Yaoundé or the sentencing of CRM party officials. In their same communique, they made mention of those arrested within the context of the protest of Stand Up for Cameroon. Is that to say that there is actually a wind of change blowing within the opposition and bringing some sort of unity, or it is something that is happening just within the PAP and few other political parties?
Mr. For me, basically, we will say politics means standing for the interests of the people. Be it from the Popular Action Party, be it from the CRM, be it from the CPTM, politics should have meant standing for the interests of the people. But the Cameroonian milieu of politics have reduced politics into a stomach-based business, into people now go into politics for self-aggrandizement. So that is why we now see politicians coming together for a common good of the people as a major challenge.
Now, I want to go back to an aspect you raised, and you spoke about the fact that some happened in Bengbis in the south region of Cameroon and some other acts vandalizing the DO's office, and you say they've not been brought to book. That is not something we can confirm at this level because we still don't know. But if that is the case, they've not been brought to book, what powers do we have at the level of the opposition, at the level of the civil society, in order to push the government, the CPTM-led government, to do this justice that most people of the opposition are asking for?
Calling on the CPDM government to sanction its own is like something almost impossible for Cameroonians to do, because Cameroonians has been using the
but none is supposed to be above the law.
None is supposed to be, thank God you used the right word, supposed to be above the law.
Yes, none is above
the law. We
have
seen that for over 40 years now. I told you Cameroonians have been asking for a change in governance, but yet this is what we get. So there is nothing else we Cameroonians should do.
You said essentially that Cameroonians should not think that those responsible for the burning of the DO's office, for example, are not going to be punished any moment.
That can only be a miracle in this nation. So we might be hoping that can happen, but we consider that to be a miracle in Cameroon if CPDM will punish its own.
Thank you very much, Numbose Innocent. You are a communicator of the PAP political party. We are glad having you.
Thank you very much for me. The pleasure is mine.
Of course, we look forward to have you next on Talking Point. Ladies and gentlemen, stay with interesting programs on Equinoxe. We shall not be taking you to Yaoundé this evening. We'll leave you with some interesting programs, and shortly after, you shall be having Equinoxe tour with you.